We're back. It's been a while. Let me catch you up on what happened with the Land Cruiser. Okay. So, what happened with the Land Cruiser? Well, we went to go do a head gasket and we found many issues. And so the head gasket turned into, you know, basically, as you probably already know, if you follow me already, and have been watching this process as much as I can document. And yeah, we're at a rebuild. We rebuilt the whole motor plus some upgrades. I had time to kind of figure out how I wanted to kind of release this information and what kind of like topics and stuff. So if there's things that I don't touch that you're interested in, you can always reach out. So I'm going to do 3 videos. The first one, this video is going to be how this all happened, some theories, and what my options were, the cost of those options, and why I went with that option. So that's later in this video. The second video, it's going to be me visiting the machine shop and Technique Vehicle Outfitters, which is where the truck was put all back together, or taken apart and put all back together. So if you're interested in looking at a shop that has done this now, which, you know, there's not a ton of shops in the country that work on these diesels, but yeah, so they're in Bend, Oregon, and they, well, I think 3 out of 4 people that work there have 80 series. Definitely good hands to bring your truck into, even though you know, might be far, but it is worth it. And there's no sales tax in Oregon, so yeah. So we're gonna be kind of the problems we ran into, the rebuilding process, research, sourcing parts. So that's going to be kind of the second video. And then the third video is going to be the finished product, what I have now, and some of the upgrades we've done, the products that kind of like the pistons and rings and rods, those kind of things that I went with, and kind of the spec on power output and bit of future upgrades that I'm still pending on. And then fourth video will be cost, basically just detailed breakdown of what it like actually cost me out of pocket. So and there's the labor costs and the parts. So if you are handy, you could probably save a ton of money on not paying the labor. So anyways, let's get into the first video. Alright, so my engine blew up. Basically what happened was that we went to go try to pull the head to do a head gasket, and the, you know, best case scenario is to do that head gasket and then, you know, be on our way. So that obviously would have been a really cheap option compared to what I did, but that wasn't the case. So basically what we found were cracks in between the head or, you know, between the cylinder heads where the valves are. There was cracks in between. So there was either like coolant mixing and, you know, just not how it should be. I don't understand the kind of like technical aspects of it, or why it doesn't, you know, why it works but doesn't work. So there's the cracks are obviously bad. There's no way to fix them in a head. So right then and there, you know that you're doing a new head. So there was also a piece of metal like on top of the cylinder head and basically I think it was a glow plug or something that broke off and just like stamped right into the head. You can kind of you can kind of tell that it happened, and it just stayed there for however long, and didn't affect anything. But so the options were basically, there were like kind of three options. So the first option, replace the head, put a new head gasket on. Don't just fix one cylinder or a piston, and then just hope that it's all good, right? Like, definitely the most risky option, I think, because you would just have to tear it all apart again if it didn't work out. So my second option was to pull the whole motor and rebuild basically everything. It was a tough decision because it would potentially be more money and possibly more time. So it was like kind of up in the air between that option, and then my third option was to do a Cummins swap or any type of motor swap, or even a older, or sorry, like a used motor that I found a couple. So the thought process behind that is that the used motor would still need to be taken apart and off, on a engine stand. You can do a lot of things to fix it up, because if it has 280,000 kilometers, which is what we found, or what I found used, for $8,500 shipped from the East Coast to here. So at $8,500, and then you're adding all those all those things that you might want to do, it just seems like it would be best to go with option two. So option two, option two wasn't the cheapest, and option three with the Cummins swap, another negative to that, I would say, is you have to do a manual transmission, which I didn't want to do. I mean, it's fun to drive, but I had the Jeep with the manual transmission, and I didn't like off-roading with it. I don't really, it doesn't really interest me to be stressed out and like trying to do that technical driving while doing other things. So it just wasn't for me. It's fun, but not something I want to do like all the time. So basically, yeah. So I option two, rebuild the whole motor. So what we did was they pulled the motor, and I took the short block, which the bottom half of the engine, and brought it to a machine shop. The machine shop was here in Portland, and the shop's called G&A Cylinder Heads. Reason why we went with G&A is because it was actually recommended from another place that doesn't really work on these motors. They work on like Peterbilt and like big, like trucking type engines. But yeah, so I checked out like Yelp and Google and Instagram, and like any other service, or like kind of like trade job, you kind of have to do your research, right? And everything looked really professional there. So he has state-of-the-art like equipment, also like CNC stuff, and like you'll see in the second video like how much in depth we did, and it was really rad. It was super cool to see how it gets done. So we drop off that, and he works on that, and like I said, we'll get into that. And then the new head would come and basically be test fitted with that to make sure everything's good and kosher. The options were like roughly everything seemed to be about like 10 grand. So I was kind of like going into it thinking I was going to spend about 12,000 bucks. And so yeah, that's what happened. I mean, unfortunately, you know, it's just like really bad timing, but also good timing because it happened during the winter, and you know, it could have been during the summer, and I wouldn't have had anything for a long time, and so it worked out how it should, right? So, anyways, yeah, that's about it. This video is kind of like just explaining how things are, or how things started. Obviously, it took months to do this, and if you're interested in doing any part of rebuild on a 1HDT motor, definitely watch like the second and third and fourth videos, just because those will be a little bit more in depth on like the details and time frames and costs. So yeah, I'm back. So basically, one video a week, and we'll see you next week on the process of rebuilding a 1HDT motor in the United States.